Manipur is in the midst of a civilian conflict that very quickly snowballed into violence over the past week. Streets full of vehicles on fire, college students hurling rocks at buildings. Things have been gruesome. The state government authorized all district magistrates to issue shoot-at-sight orders in extreme cases. At least 54 people have died, more than 100 people injured, and several others displaced. As of 8th May, 23,000 people had been rescued from violence-hit areas. The thing is, a lot of news from Manipur and the northeastern states is so removed for those of us who lived in the mainland that we don't really attempt to understand what's going on. I'm Rukmini, and in this video, I'm going to try and cover the incidents from the past week. This is Manipur. It is one of the 7 northeastern states in India. The state is covered with hills, and Imphal, the capital, sits in the valley. Think of it as a stadium where the ground is the Imphal Valley, and around it, the bleachers and galleries represent the hills. The major tribes in the state are the Meiteis, the Kukis, the Nagas, and Zo. The Meiteis, who predominantly identify as Hindus, comprise 53% of the population and largely live in the valley. The hill areas take up 90% of the state's landmass and are home to various tribes, the Naga, Kukis and Meiteis, and Zo. And it is this, the geography of the state and who lives where and who owns land where, that appears to be at the heart of the problem right now. Though, like everything else, it has a history. This year, the trouble started on April 19th. But the problem, well, it actually started in 1949, when Manipur was merged with India and the Meiteis lost their scheduled tribe status. And then it started again in 2012 when the Meiteis began to demand to be recognized as STs. On April 19th this year, the Manipur High Court, responding to a demand made by the Meitei community, asked the state government to submit a proposal to the centre seeking ST status for the Meiteis. Why is the scheduled tribe status so important to the story? The Meiteis, who are non-tribal, can't buy land in the hills. Remember that the hills are 90% of the Manipuri landmass. The Meiteis live in the Imphal Valley, which is only 10% of the state. Essentially, what that means is that 53% of the population is living in 10% of the state. But the very idea that the Meiteis, who are a majority, would be given an ST status angered the tribes of the state. Why? Number 1, because the Meiteis dominate the politics of the state. The Manipuri Legislative Assembly is a body comprising 60 seats, out of which 40 are occupied by the Meiteis, and only 20 seats represent every other tribe in the state. The Chief Minister, N. Biren Singh, is also Meitei. And now the second reason. 3 churches were also demolished on the grounds of illegal construction. The Nagas and Kukis, who are mostly Christian, have been angry about these events for the past few weeks. Since February this year, the BJP government has also conducted eviction drives to clear forests from encroachers. The tribal population of Manipur believes that their ancestral land is being encroached upon by the majority in a variety of ways. We spoke to a community leader from Churachandpur. He chose to withhold his name for the purposes of his own security.
The tribals have always been the landowners even before the independence period. So there has been a lot of rumor that has been brewing. The government machineries have been secretly surveying tribal lands, and such surveyors, some of them have been caught by the student bodies, and they have been requested to take permission from the tribal chiefs before conducting such surveys in the future.
The 6th schedule of the Constitution gives the Manipuri tribes the right to form autonomous district councils. These are governing bodies elected by the tribes responsible for civilian decisions within the district. But elections for the ADCs haven't taken place since 2015.
This autonomous district council has not been able to function properly, and instead the deputy commissioner governs the district. Many inside and outside influences have disrupted these elections, and our leaders have always demanded for a proper autonomy for the tribals to govern for themselves.
The Meiteis, on the other hand, fear a threat to their identity, claiming illegal immigration from Myanmar and Bangladesh.
If you look at 50s and 60s, there was a sudden jump in the decadal growth, very abnormal compared to its natural growth. So there was immigration from Bangladesh and obviously Myanmar, and also from other states of India. So this is a reality. And also it is true that some of the the borders between India and Myanmar is not a very hard border. So people do move in and out of this border for a very long time. There was even a special arrangement for 16 kilometers on either side that people can move around because people have lived in this area for a long time. So the number of villages in the forest of Manipur have dramatically increased. However, there is also genuine refugees who are coming into Manipur recently because of the coup that is happening and the total civil war situation that is happening in Myanmar. And there is a need to distinguish between these two. And one has to find how one to protect the rights of the indigenous people of Manipur, but also how the rights of the migrants as well as the asylum seekers has to be addressed. Unfortunately, there is a total lack of institutions to deal with both the problem. There is neither a proper population commission that monitors the abnormal growth of population and how to systematically address it, nor is there any FRRO office in Manipur to deal with the refugee and the asylum crisis. Neither is institutions like the UNHCR, who is asked to deal with this Myanmar refugee, given access to this area. So when institutions are not put in place to address human problems and human needs, very often people take things into their own hands. And what we are seeing today in the form of what people describe as ethnic clashes is the result of this total lack of governance and institutions in place.
The Meiteis also have complaints about how forest lands in Manipur are being used. Opium cultivation is common in hill districts. After coming to power for the second term last year, the Biren Singh government had stepped up its war on drugs campaign.
The whole issue of poppy cultivation in the hills of Manipur, 700 square kilometer of Manipur's hill is under poppy cultivation. And many people suspect that it is the suspension of operation group, the SU group, who is giving protection to these poppy plantations. There is also anger because the government of Manipur was trying to withdraw themselves from this suspension of operation arrangement.
Manipur has been a hotspot for insurgent activities since the 60s. In March this year, after a violent clash occurred at a rally, the state government withdrew from the Suspension of Operations Agreement. The Suspension of Operations Agreement is an arrangement between the state, the centre, and Kuki militant outfits. While there is no evidence yet, Indian Army officials have said that the manner in which weapons have been snatched from the security forces and the pattern in the violence might suggest the involvement of the militants. This is the second such eruption in the last 10 years. In 2015, the State Assembly passed 3 bills which the Kuki tribe and the Naga tribe vehemently opposed, claiming that they would come in the way of their rights. Similar riots broke out and 8 people were killed. A belief that the tribal population of the state holds is that the bloodshed, which has been traumatizing the people for decades now, will not cease until an important step is taken.
So the only way how for the tribal peoples to feel safe is total separate administration from Manipur. Actually, we are not very much hopeful, to get rightful judgment from the state government. That is why we want the central to involve in this. The healthiest way is to give the tribals what they deserve, what is within their constitutional rights to govern themselves separately.
Others believe that it's only a matter of time before people come to an understanding to share their resources and live peacefully.
I am positive that there are enough good people on either side. The people who are indulging in this mindless violence are a handful of people. Manipur have gone through much worse times in our history, and I am very hopeful that people on both sides of the fence will be able to come up and understand each other's pain and suffering. And I believe peace is possible in Manipur again.
For more such stories, stay tuned to Deccan Herald and follow us on all social media platforms.